3 months ago, my mother showed up at my job, screaming in the lobby that I was destroying our family, because I refused to pay child support for the baby my wife had with my brother. Let that sink in. I stood there in front of my coworkers, frozen, humiliated, and silent, while my own mother yelled that I was abandoning my responsibilities. It was the most surreal moment of my life, and the final confirmation that I wasn't crazy. My whole family really had chosen him. Let me take you back. About 1.5 years ago, my younger brother Jason reached out. Said he missed me. That our parents missed me. We hadn't spoken in almost 7 years. Growing up, Jason was the family's golden boy, quarterback, charming, the future lawyer. Me? I was just there. Not mistreated, just background noise. That's probably why I moved out the day I turned 18 and never looked back. I built a decent life. Stable job. Married my college sweetheart, Leah. Bought a small home in Albany. Nothing extravagant, just solid and peaceful. So when Jason messaged me that November, part of me hesitated. But another part, the lonely one, thought, maybe people change. Maybe they want to make things right. I let him in. And at first, it was fine. He'd swing by, have a drink, catch up. I even introduced him to Leah. They got along well. Too well, maybe. By spring, he was at our house constantly. Sometimes even when I wasn't there. I chalked it up to friendliness. He's just reconnecting, I told myself. But something in my gut twisted every time I saw the way he touched her shoulder, how she laughed a little too hard at his jokes. Then came the bombshell. Leah was pregnant. I was stunned. Overjoyed, even. We'd been trying for months. But the timing felt off. And Jason? He started visiting even more. Rubbing her stomach. Making jokes like, better hope this kid doesn't have my nose, right? Weird stuff that made my skin crawl. I wanted to trust her. I really did. But one night, while she slept, I cracked. Opened her phone. There they were. Messages stretching back months. Photos. Plans. My brother had been sleeping with my wife. The baby? Not mine. I sat on the floor for nearly an hour, just staring at the screen. Then I woke her up. She didn't deny it. Not for long. Said they planned to break it to me gently. After the baby was born. As if there's ever a gentle way to say, hey, I'm raising your brother's kid now. I left the next morning. When I called my parents to tell them what had happened, I was desperate for something, some validation, some shred of loyalty. But I got none. My mom sighed and said, Jason made a mistake. You need to forgive him. Your family. My dad said I was overreacting. That the baby was innocent. That was when I snapped. I cut them all off. Filed for divorce. Blocked numbers. Deleted family group chats. And I thought that was the end of it. But then came the messages. The calls. The manipulation. And eventually, the moment that made me realize how far gone they were. The moment my mother came to my office, crying, yelling that I was punishing a baby, screaming in front of my boss that I was selfish and cruel for not helping Jason now that he was unemployed with a newborn. That's when I knew this wasn't just betrayal, it was war. And it was only just beginning. After I told my mother no, after I refused to financially support the child my wife had with my brother, I figured the chaos might finally subside. I was wrong. 4 days later, Jason showed up at my apartment. I don't know how he found the address. Maybe my mom gave it to him. Maybe he followed me. Either way, there he was, on my porch, holding a coffee like he was just swinging by for a chat. I didn't want to open the door. But part of me, call it morbid curiosity, wanted to hear what he had to say. He smiled when I cracked the door. Hey man, he said like we were friends. Can we talk? I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. He started in on the apologies. The clichés. It wasn't supposed to happen. We didn't mean to hurt you. It just got complicated. He even said he still wanted us to be close. I almost laughed. But then came the real reason he was there. He was broke. Couldn't hold down a job. Leah, my ex-wife, now his partner, was out on maternity leave. And the baby? Well, babies cost money. So he wanted my help. Financial help. From me. The man who slept with my wife wanted me to bail him out. I know you're doing well, Nate, he said. I'm just asking for a little support until we get on our feet. You know, family. I looked him dead in the eye. You're not my family, I said. Not anymore. He flinched, just slightly. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. You're being petty, he said. You're just mad because she chose me. You think she would have cheated if she was happy? That was the moment I felt my hands curl into fists. I'm not mad she chose you, I said. I'm mad I wasted years believing you'd ever grow up. I told him to leave. He lingered for a second, then muttered, You'll regret this, and walked off. But he wasn't the last visitor. A week later, my father called. We hadn't spoken since the divorce. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me and I listened to the message. Son, I know you're hurting, but this isn't the way to handle things. Jason and Leah are struggling. They need your help. The baby deserves better than this. You're the only one doing okay right now. You could help. It was the same speech. Same guilt. I didn't return the call. But then came something even more unexpected. 3 days later, I got a message from Leah. I know you hate me. It started. But please hear me out. She said things with Jason weren't going well. That he was drinking more. That he'd been disappearing for hours at a time. That she was scared. I didn't respond. I wanted to delete the message, block her forever. But then she said something else. He's not who you think he is, Nate. There's something I didn't tell you. Something about the baby. My stomach dropped. But she didn't elaborate. I didn't know it then, but that single line, that half-confession, was the first crack in a deeper truth. One that would unravel everything I thought I knew about the betrayal. Something about the baby? I tried to forget it. To write it off as manipulation. But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore it. Not when the stakes were about to rise again. And not when I was about to discover that the betrayal went even deeper than I thought. The message haunted me for days. There's something I didn't tell you, something about the baby. It looped in my head every night as I lay awake staring at the ceiling. It wasn't regret I felt, it was dread. Because if there was one thing Leah was good at, it was hiding things behind softness. She knew how to wrap a lie in apology and make it sound like a plea. I told myself not to care. I told myself I was done. But I couldn't help it. I called her. She answered on the first ring. And what she told me changed everything. I lied about when it started, she said. It wasn't just after the new year. It was before that. Months before. I already knew this part. I'd seen the messages. I said nothing. But there's more, she continued. I don't think the baby is Jason's. I blinked. What? She paused. I was seeing someone else. Before Jason. Around the time we were trying to get pregnant. It was stupid. I didn't think it mattered until the baby was born. But he doesn't look like Jason. I felt my breath leave me. You're telling me you don't know who the father is? I asked, voice low, calm in that way you only are when you've crossed into emotional exhaustion. She didn't answer right away. Then, I think there's a chance he's yours. That sentence hit like a meteor. Because suddenly, all the anger, all the disgust, all the betrayal, got tangled up in something I thought I'd buried. Hope. Because once upon a time, I wanted nothing more than to be a dad. When I was 16, I used to babysit for our neighbor, Mr. Douglas. He had 2 daughters and a son. The boy, Henry, was 5 and wild, always running into walls, sticking forks into sockets. But I loved taking care of him. There was this one night he fell asleep on my chest during a thunderstorm, and I remember thinking, This is what I want someday. A quiet house. A family. Someone to protect. But then my family happened. Jason happened. And by the time I met Leah, I had buried all of that beneath a shell of sarcasm and survival. Until that pregnancy test. Until I thought I was going to be a father. Now she was telling me there was a chance that I was. A 1 in 3 chance. I didn't say much on that call. Just told her I needed time. But that night, I looked up paternity tests. I checked state laws. And I stared at an old photo I'd snapped from Leah's nightstand the day we moved in. The one of her sister, and a dog named Jasper. It was stupid, but I'd kept it in my sock drawer all these months. I don't know why. Maybe because I needed to believe something we had was real. But then I remembered another photo. One my mom used to keep in a dusty frame in our hallway. Jason as a toddler, sitting in Dad's lap, smiling. Me off to the side. Cropped out by accident, or maybe on purpose. I'd asked her once, "Why am I not in this picture?" She'd said, "Oh honey, you were there. You were probably just somewhere else." That line stuck with me my whole life. Somewhere else. That's where I always was, wasn't it? Not important enough to center. Just background. So when Leah called again 2 days later, this time crying, begging, I didn't pick up. Because I already knew what I had to do. I ordered a test. A quiet one. And I was ready to face whatever came next. But what I wasn't ready for was how Jason would respond when he found out. Because the next part of the story? He found out first. And what he did nearly destroyed everything. It should have been private. I'd ordered the DNA kit through a discreet lab out of DC. No flashy packaging, no awkward drop-offs. I didn't even tell Leah I was doing it. She'd already started spinning some fantasy about raising the child together and healing as a family. I couldn't stomach it. Not until I had the truth in my hands. 2 weeks later, the results came in. I wasn't the father. There it was. Cold. Clinical. Final. And in a twisted way, I felt both relieved and shattered. Because as much as I hated everything that had happened, there was still a part of me, some broken, naive corner of my soul, that wanted that child to be mine. That wanted one piece of this mess to belong to me in a way that didn't hurt. But it didn't. And somehow, Jason found out. I don't know if Leah told him. Maybe he hacked her email. Maybe he saw the kit in the trash and put it together. All I know is that 3 nights later, I was at a friend's engagement party. First real social event I dared to attend in months, and Jason showed up. Uninvited. At a rooftop bar. In front of 70 people. I was mid-conversation with a colleague when I saw him across the crowd, grimy t-shirt, sweat on his brow, eyes wild. He walked with purpose, like a man marching toward his execution or a prize fight. He didn't say anything at first. Just stared. Then, loud enough to turn every head in the room, he shouted, "You thought you'd humiliate me like that?" The music screeched to a stop. Glasses paused midair. People turned. "What are you talking about?" I said, calm on the surface, cold underneath. "You think I didn't hear?" he growled. "You took a damn DNA test without telling us? You really wanted the world to know I knocked up your wife?" I was silent. He stepped closer. "She's been crying for 2 days. You made her feel like trash." I felt my jaw tighten. "I made her feel like trash? She cheated on me with my brother. You both lied to me for months." People were whispering now. My friend Chelsea was tugging on my arm, whispering that we should take this outside. Jason wasn't done. "You always wanted to take everything from me," he shouted. "Even now, you think you're better than me just because you've got your crap together." And that's when he snapped. He lunged. Fist clenched. He swung and missed. I ducked, caught his arm, and shoved him back so hard he stumbled into a table. Wine glasses crashed to the ground. The bouncer was already moving. Jason was hauled out screaming about family, and revenge, and how None of this would have happened if I'd just been a decent brother. I stood there, chest heaving, face burning. People were staring at me like I was the villain. But I didn't care. Because Jason wasn't mad about the test. He was mad about the truth. He'd spent his whole life winning through charm, lies, and second chances. And now, finally, he couldn't lie his way out of this. Leah called the next morning, voice trembling. I didn't know he was going to do that. I'm so sorry. I told her to lose my number. But later that week, something happened that made everything worse. My company was hosting its annual executive retreat. I was scheduled to speak. And on the morning of my presentation, I received an envelope at the hotel front desk. No name. Just a flash drive inside. With one file. A video. Of me and Leah. From years ago. In our bedroom. Private. Intimate. The timestamp predated the affair. And suddenly I understood. Jason wasn't just angry. He was trying to destroy me. But what he didn't know. He had just given me everything I needed. Because I wasn't the only one he'd recorded. And the next part of this story? Is how I finally turned the tables. When I saw what was on the flash drive, my hands shook, but not with fear. With clarity. Because in that instant, I realized Jason had just handed me the final weapon. He thought leaking an old intimate video of me and Leah, before the affair, would embarrass me. Maybe ruin my reputation at work. But what he didn't realize is that the video wasn't the only thing Leah had ever recorded. Months ago, back when things were falling apart, she accidentally synced her phone to our old cloud storage. I'd forgotten all about it. She never unsynced. That cloud was still mine. And on that cloud I found gold. Videos. Voicemails. Messages. Jason, drunk, shirtless, laughing, boasting to his friend that he had her wrapped around his finger, and how he only knocked her up to prove a point. He even said, if she ends up with my brother, I win. If she stays with me, I win bigger. He didn't know she was recording. And I don't think she knew the footage ever uploaded to the cloud. Now I had it. I didn't go nuclear right away. I waited. I built a case. Leah had already tried suing for more alimony. She failed, but the threat lingered. I suspected she and Jason might try again. So I sent everything, to my lawyer. Not just the footage, but timestamps, metadata, copies of the flash drive Jason left, and a log of every harassing call, text, and unannounced visit from my family since the divorce. And then I filed a restraining order. Against Jason. Against Leah. Against my own parents. A week later, I got a call from Leah's lawyer. She was furious. Said I was smearing her client. I told him it wasn't a smear if it was the truth. And if they pushed for court again, I'd be happy to make that footage public. It was like flipping a switch. Suddenly, radio silence. A full month passed. No calls. No visits. No messages. Just quiet. Until my dad tried one last thing. He emailed me a letter. A full-page plea, asking me to drop the restraining order. He said Jason was spiraling. That Leah had moved out. That the baby was now with my mother. He begged me to help restore the family. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent a single email. You chose him. You can keep him. This family died the day you asked me to fund its betrayal. And with that, I closed the chapter. Now, I live alone, but peaceful. I'm not rich. I'm not dating. I'm not thriving in some Instagram perfect life. But I'm free. I run a small graphic design studio out of my apartment. My boss, who saw my mother screaming in the office lobby that day, he offered me a remote contract with full benefits, said, "You didn't deserve that circus." I walk my dog every morning. I play guitar again. I'm reconnecting with friends who knew me before the storm. Sometimes, when it's quiet, I still feel the sting of what I lost, the dream of a family, the memory of holding on to hope. But then I remember something my therapist said. You didn't lose a family. You survived an extraction. And I smile. Because she was right. The people I cut out? They were never really with me. They were just loud passengers on a ship I was always meant to sail alone. And now? I own the boat.